G'day ladies and gentlemen, it's the battle we have all been waiting for, especially me. I've been waiting a while for this one. We have Aenarion, the legendary defender of Ulthuan, versus Gotrek and Felix, the legendary adventurers with so much plot armor they could survive an Australian summer without sunscreen. Oh, and the dwarf has an axe that belonged to a god, which also helps. In a similar vein to my Nagash vs Lord Kroak video, and I guess the entirety of the death battle videos on, that other channel, we'll be analysing our fighters' strengths and achievements before pitting them in a battle to the death. As a note, each contender is fighting at their prime, hence Aenarion has the powers of Cain and Gotrek has the powers of Grimnir, and Felix has the power of luck and good riding, or unluck because his life has been pretty rough. Before we get into it, I have to say a massive thank you to my supporters on Patreon, as without them, this video would not have been possible. Special shoutouts go to Mason, Llama Man and Bobby for their sexy as fuck donations. If you want to get special perks and also support this type of content on my channel, please consider sending me some dollary dues, and I will use all of them for custom artwork and animation as I have been so far. Let's get into it. Aenarion the Defender was the legendary hero of the High Elves that almost single-handedly saved not just his homeland, but the entire world just through his combat prowess, iron will, and genius military tactics. When the Great Catastrophe occurred and Cum dumped a metric fuck-ton of chaos demons into the world, the High Elves were especially targeted along with the Lizardmen, as they were the greatest threats to chaotic domination. This is where Aenarion comes in and shows us just how big his fucking testicles are. A cultured traveller in his youth, Aenarion returned home to find his people getting anally raped by the far superior demonic forces. Faced with desperation, Aenarion went to the shrine of Aenarion and prayed for salvation. He was met with silence, so he decided it would be a dope-ass idea to do a backflip into the flames of Aenarion. Aenarion started to become a crispy bacon strip, and it was very painful, and it seemed like this was a terrible move by him, until suddenly all of his burns were healed and he was granted the powers of Aenarion. He walked out of the flames and then fucking one-shot the greater demon lord attacking the shrine, with an old hunting spear. He then picked up the dead lord's demon weapon and killed his entire army single-handedly with it. What the fuck? He quickly united the elven race, forging a flaming sword and genocided the demons in Ulthuan. He even found time to fuck some hot bitch and have kids, so he's doing alright I reckon at this point. However, this is Warhammer we're talking about, so even a bigger second wave of demons descended upon the High Elves. As Aenarion prepared to bring the pain to them a second time, he received news that his wife and children had been slaughtered by the demons. This was the Chaos God's way of trying to demoralize Aenarion in order to break him and then win the war. However, it was a bit of a backfire, as you may know. What happened next was absolutely fucked. Aenarion got on his big ass dragon and flew to the Shrine of Cain, preparing to take the Widowmaker, aka the Sword of Cain, aka the strongest weapon in the world. Both the Elven gods and the Chaos gods spoke to Aenarion, were like, bro, it's just a prank, like, don't do that, just don't take the sword. But Aenarion was like, get fucked cunt, I'm gonna rape all of you. Making Aenarion only one of 3 characters in the Warhammer fantasy to make the Chaos gods shit themselves and beg for mercy. Even his dead wife was like, yo huz, don't take that sword, it's not good. But when a man makes up his mind, there ain't gonna be much to change it. The only guy that probably wanted Aenarion to take the sword was Cain, who was probably having a massive boner at this point. Aenarion grabbed the sword and became the combined aspect of war and life, courtesy of being the chosen god warrior of both Cain and Aenarion. Yeah, he maintained both Aenarion's powers and Cain's powers, even though he chose Cain. This second large horde of demons died even quicker than the first, as Aenarion literally just ripped through their forces, killing everything that had a horn. In no time at all, the second Chaos Invasion was destroyed. Now, wielding the Sword of Cain isn't all roses and sunshine. It turns you into a bitter cunt and curses your bloodline forever, which is what happened to Aenarion. However, before he could do anything too silly, other than, fucking Marathi and basically creating the Dark Elves, one final infinite demon horde arrived at Ulthuan. Despite his godlike strength, Aenarion knew he would not be able to defeat this final Chaos Horde alone. However, his old mate Kalidor had the bright idea of creating a vortex to drain the demonic power from the world, or the winds of magic from the world, which in turn would make all the demons disintegrate, in theory. Aenarion, seeing this as his only chance to save his people, he came and he saw sense and he came to Kalidor's defense, and he brought Kalidor enough time to finish the vortex. Now this is where shit gets real. To deal with Aenarion, each Chaos God handpicked, marked and empowered their greatest demon ever and sent all 4 of them to kill him at the same time. Outnumbered 4-1 against the strongest demons that have ever existed. It's easy to say the odds are against Aenarion, but I'll be damned if Aenarion gives a fuck. So he kills all 4 with one swing of his sword. What the fuck, bro? Jesus, chill. However, during the attack, Aenarion left himself open and was mortally wounded. Despite this, Kalidor was bought enough time to set up the vortex and save the world, all due to Aenarion's sacrifice. Aenarion isn't a quick dyer though, so he flew his also dying dragon to the altar of Cain and he put the sword back, hence cementing Aenarion's legacy as the world's greatest hero ever. Now let's break down Aenarion's strengths and weaknesses now that we know his backstory and some of his accomplishments. His strengths include, he is a master swordsman, he's a dragon rider as well, he's also an expert tactician and a military genius, he was chosen by both the god of war and life, so he has their powers as well, extreme resilience, being able to fight off and take multiple hits from multiple killing sources and still go for a bit of a trip on his dragon. And he's also fearless. There is nothing wrong with this guy's morale, death is laughable to him. However, his weaknesses include impulsiveness, such as taking the Sword of Cain, outbursts of uncontrollable rage from owning the Sword of Cain, reckless offensive attacks, which is, what ended up in him being dead, and although he's a fantastic warrior, he does rely on his weapons, armor, and god-given powers to be a legendary warrior. He isn't inherently legendary. Moving on to our next opponent, or opponents if you count the manling as a capable fighter. We have the legendary adventurers Felix and Gotrek. I'll break these cunts down one by one and then talk about the strengths and weaknesses they get from fighting as a team. Starting with everyone's favourite midget, we have Gotrek. If humble beginnings were as a dwarf, it would be Gotrek. Starting off as a simple engineer with some combat experience, Gotrek joined an armoured convoy to try and find the lost city of Karak Dam, which was located in the Chaos Wastes, not exactly an ideal holiday destination. This obviously did not go well for the expedition and they all died, except for Gotrek and a few other cunts that don't matter. To escape his pursuing chaotic foes, Gotrek stumbled into a cave which was full of dead beastmen, surrounded by a dead Dowie boy, who was, despite sitting in a pretty shitty cave, has a bling as fuck axe, which Gotrek quickly scooped up. Unbeknownst to Gotrek, however, this was the second axe of Grimnir, and its power began turning him into a demigod, which is a pretty solid way to say it was making him strong as fuck. Anywho, Gotrek returns home to find, you guessed it, his wife and children murdered. When he demanded vengeance from his local lord, he was denied, which sent him in a fit of rage, killing both the lord and all of his bodyguards. Yikes. When his anger subsided, old mate Gotrek was a little bit embarrassed and ashamed by his actions, and he took the Slayer Oath, shaving his hair and doing a shit ton of bench press to get absolutely fucking shredded for Festival Slayer season. He went off his adventures trying to die, because they're a bit suicidal, those Slayer boys, and he eventually encountered Felix. While definitely being a capable duelist and a tactical thinker, Felix was in no way extraordinary. The protection of Gotrek, combined with a bit of luck, has kept Felix alive through encounters with overpowered vampires, overzealous Skaven, and over-the-top greater demons. Not a bad effort for a human with not much going for them other than the fact they have some damn good literacy skills. He was the black sheep of a rich family who always dreamed of adventure, but may have accidentally slightly killed some shit cunt while at university, so he got the boot. He then instigated a fat as fuck riot that ended in dozens of deaths, including many Reichsguard, and nearly his own if Gotrek had not rocked up and saved him. A few beers later, Felix had pledged his life to Gotrek as a way to say cheers, and so began the legendary tale of the two greatest adventurers and heroes of the age. Their first ever achievement involved single-handedly stopping a Slaneshi ritual by killing dozens of cultists and demonic abominations. Not bad for their first stroll. Their tale then took a dark turn as Felix discovered and found the woman he loved, only for her to be violently killed when Felix was betrayed by some cocky cunt, who Felix then stabbed to death in a rage. So began a literal road full of slaughter and death the next 20 years as they killed mutated super trolls, hundreds of greenskins, Skaven, and beastmen. They also then killed chaos champions, monsters, greater demons, you name it, they have killed it. The madmen even took out an entire fucking black ark, like settle down boys. Their deeds have uprooted chaos at dozens of turns and saved countless lives. After 20 years of this hardcore adventuring shit, their names were known far and wide as the greatest heroes of the time, and some even say the greatest heroes that have ever walked the land. Now, Gotrek being a Slayer has been searching for death this entire time, so Felix following a Slayer with a death wish for 20 years and surviving is a fucking good effort by Felix. The real power of this duo, however, does not come from Felix's luck or Gotrek's god axe, it comes from their teamwork, as Felix's quick thinking and tactics have saved the duo just as much as Gotrek's extraordinary power. Now let's break down the duo's strengths and weaknesses before we begin this battle. Strengths include insane amounts of teamwork. The amount of monsters they've taken down through teamwork is insane. Both characters would have been dead by now if not for each other. They're also both veteran warriors, having been fighting crazy demons and shit for over 20 years. Their skill sets are extremely complementary of each other, there could not be a better team. Gotrek also wields the god axe of Grimnir, making him a force to be reckoned with. Neither has any fear of death. Gotrek wants to die, like as a Slayer, and Felix just wants to die because I think he's just sick of all this shit. And they're also favoured by the gods. There's been many times where Felix has said a prayer to Sigmar as he did something and it worked out really well, such as throwing a really unlikely throwing knife to save both of them while praising Sigmar, and it full shanked like a cultist leader in the neck, like it was a good throw. However, their weaknesses include an extreme lack of regard for their own lives. Gotrek will jump into any situation and Felix will jump in right after him. They're also literally seeking death. Like, Gotrek wants to die. That's his purpose. Like, if you read any of the books, he's always like, he gets excited every time he hears about a powerful enemy because he's like, ooh, maybe I'll die today. Like, that's definitely a weakness. Felix depends also on Gotrek for safety in extremely dangerous situations, often having to take a back foot and think about shit because he wouldn't be able to handle a bloodthirster or even be near it. Gotrek lacks tactical knowledge against crafty foes, as he's a more jump in and fight and not really think about their weaknesses. And Gotrek is also, just like Aenarion, dependent on the god axe of Grimnir for most of his power. Now that that's out of the way, it's time for the motherfucking Battle of the Ages. Let's do this.
For the king! Onward!
Charge!
Could there be any other result? Despite the 2-on-1 advantage, Aenarion's skills with his sword was enough to hold both Gotrek and Felix at bay, and even get the edge on them. Aenarion is no stranger to taking on multiple powerful foes, and it was evident here. On top of this, Aenarion is no monster with an Achilles heel, which is common of Gotrek and Felix foes, such as the Super Chaos Troll being very vulnerable to fire. However, the fight that was up against Aenarion was arguably his toughest yet, as he was fighting the demigod power within Gotrek on top of the intervention and tactics by Felix. However, the legendary elf was able to overcome this adversary to come out on top. If you guys love this video, I can do more, but this video needs just a bit of extra love than usual to justify it, because it is quite expensive and time consuming to make this kind of video. I set up a Patreon, like I said, with the sole purpose of funding these type of videos, and so far we've produced lovely art and now an animation for the Warhammer community. Even just $1 goes a long way into helping my channel and pumping out the next animation, so please consider it. This is the second battle video I've done on my channel after Nagash vs Lord Kroak, so check out that one as well if you want to see more of this kind of content. Last bit of ass kissing. Join my Discord if you want to fuck around and be autistic with me. Have a fucking sick one, cunts. Peace.